The Hero with an African Face, Mythic Wisdom of Traditional Africa. Written and read by Clyde W. Ford. Opening the Sacred Circle. Voices of the Ancestors. In the summer of 1968, on the west coast of Africa, I stood facing the Elmina slave castle, a place where countless thousands of Africans had begun their passage into a disconsolate and treacherous unknown. The Atlantic lashed the rocks around this ominous monolith of weather-beaten white stone. Built by the Portuguese in 1482, it serviced the slave trade for nearly 400 years. An African caretaker, a wizened, slightly stooped old man, emerged from the shadows carrying an oil lamp. "This way," he intoned in a high-pitched, crackling whisper, staring at me and motioning with his finger. I stepped across the threshold of this dark fortress and began my descent into the abyss. A long, narrow passageway led down to the chamber where male slaves were held. It was dark and damp, and walking upright was out of the question. I had to crouch so low I was almost on all fours. And as the caretaker bent over, the iron handle on his oil lamp groaned. About halfway down this cramped corridor, the old man paused abruptly in front of an iron-reinforced door. "When a slave died," he murmured, "this door was opened and his body was washed out to sea." The rhythmic drone of waves surrounded us as we plunged deeper into the castle's inner vault, some 50 feet beneath the water. There the old man dimmed his lamp, and when my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I could just make out a window the size of my fist atop a small shaft leading up from the cave we were now in. Through that small opening came the only air and light allowed into this thankless pit. As I moved around to take the measure of this awful place, I felt something under my feet and heard a crunching sound, like stepping on fallen leaves, only heavier and metallic. Unable to see, I reached down and groped in the dark until my fingers found their way over 1, then 2, then 3 links. It was a chain. I was walking on the rusted remains of slave chains. The more I moved about this Neptunian dungeon, the more I realized the rusting chains were everywhere. At first, the caretaker said nothing. Surely he had seen this before. The sons of slaves walking on the chains of their fathers. What words could capture this scene? "You know," he finally said in a slow, measured cadence, "your ancestors could have been in this very room." But I was already beyond the caretaker's words, for my body had grown heavy and my feet felt shackled in place. Then I thought I heard voices. At first I was sure it was just the roar of the sea, but I listened closely and made out in my mind what sounded like the low murmur of distant conversation. The rumbling traveled closer and closer, 1, then 2, then 3, then layer upon layer of voices, a cacophony of humans not moaning or sighing but talking among themselves. I strained even harder to hear, when suddenly a message shot forth from the darkness, ricocheting off the earthen walls, bouncing back and forth over and over again in time with the rhythm of the sea. "Whatever you do, my son," the voices seemed to sound in unison, "make your life count for us. Whatever you do, my son, make your life count for us. Whatever you do, my son, make your life count for us." The echo slowly trailed away. I was covered in sweat. Tears flooded my eyes. My heart was racing, and I could not make sense of what was happening. For all I knew, I could have been riveted in place for hours, though in reality, only a few moments had passed. "Yes, I know," I uttered softly, unsure to whom I was responding. Then turning towards the caretaker, I said more deliberately, "Yes, I know."